Hello. Today is July 25th, 2020. Welcome to Escaping Dystopia. My name is Roy. I'll be your host. I want to say it's been an interesting last 4 years here on Spaceship Earth as we've dealt with the leadership of a, to put it kindly, incompetent pilot. We have roughly 100 days until the election here in the United States. This is episode 101, by the way, 100 Days to Freedom. It's not, to put it lightly, it's not hyperbole to say that that's what's on the ballot this year. What we're going to be facing, what we're going to be dealing with, I think is going to be pretty tough. Alright, so this looks okay, I think, on the TV. I think I can deal with that. Alright, so we were going to go through some of the stuff we wanted to talk about tonight. We don't have as much of the outlines as we've been doing recently. Let's do... I had this open in the right place earlier. Oh, there we go. No, not bookmarks. Oh, shoot. Where is it? Oh, well, you'll get to see me flounder around for just one moment. There we go. Tabs from other devices. Alright. So this is, I do most of my reading on my phone, like a lot of folks do. To call it a phone nowadays is a bit of a misnomer. It's funny, my 2-year-old will pick up any little device and hold up to his ear, and that'll be a phone. So, but I do a lot of my reading on my phone. I also use my phone for the broadcast here because it's the best camera that I have. And it's a one-button kind of situation. Let me share this real quick over on the other page. If you want to join us, feel free. See, it's so live here. And we'll do that. And we'll see if we get folks join in. So, like I said, it's been about a month or so since I've done a full show, and I did a couple hours to catch us up then. Since then, things have gotten even crazier, to be honest. There's a number of things going on right now, and it's really hard to process, I think, all of them at the same time. The economic issues that the country is going to be facing here very shortly, I mean, right now, and extensively are going to be pretty deep. The way that we're kind of dealing with this, and because we have this second round of the virus kicking in across so many places, I mean, again, Florida past New York is the most number of cases. Texas and California are both still going up. Texas and South Texas, some of the counties near the border have been completely overwhelmed, and they're doing the straight up just triage, just people coming in and, well, you're too sick, go home situation. They are getting hit today by a hurricane. We're back into hurricane season now, so that's part of the reality of what's going on. So let's run through some of the craziness that's been going on. And let me see, I have these, like I said, all my browser history from my phone on my computer. One of the big ones that I'm going to talk about here, Mike Pompeo, our Secretary of State, gave this big speech the other day at the Nixon Center. President Nixon, he was impeached, and then he resigned in shame rather than have it actually come to him. He didn't fight through it. Quick backstory on that, his media aide, Roger Ailes, was the guy who founded Fox News. Ailes had long felt that if Nixon had had a media source that was on his side, right, at that time there were only 3 basically 3 network channels, and they were all pretty straight-laced, but they actually turned on him, and that's what caused the country to turn on him. Ailes always felt that if Nixon had been able to get his story out, he would have been fine. We see actually that Ailes has been proven to a certain degree correct on that, and that even though the House impeached Donald for clear crimes against the Constitution, the Republican Senate did not, and cleared him. With that voice and that outreach going on pretty seriously. So, we have, and one of the things, and this is all a big aside about Nixon, one of the big things that Nixon did do was trying to open up China for the U.S. and start to engage with China, as it were. What Pompeo said the other day, and this is why it was kind of a big deal, basically he's decided that was a failure. And that's one of the things that I think is really kind of disturbing. I mean, this is a big deal, right? This is basically saying what has been U.S. policy for 40 years, we're not going to do anymore, which is to engage peacefully with China. Which, again, kind of a big deal to say we're not going to be doing that anymore. Over the last few days, we've gone after the consulate in Houston. I guess they've arrested somebody. China's doing a tit for tat. Now, again, this is all escalations of what the trade war that was just kind of started out of nowhere because we decided, hey, we're going to do this. The trade war, again, to rewind a little bit, was Donald's strategy, if you will. Remember how easy they are to win, as he was so famously quoted as saying. And everyone else was like, no, they're not easy. Nobody really wins these things. This is, So, anyway, he starts the trade war. Doesn't work. We were supposed to come out of it, but then now you have the pandemic hitting. And there's something really sketchy going on with this, because Donald has gone back and forth on how his response and blaming of, if you will, China for this has continued, right? Excuse me. As he started off, of course, saying and applauding them extensively, he was trying to get this trade deal to go through and then have them start to buy again from the farmers, who again were still wildly badly hit. These markets aren't back yet, so the economic downturn from that is still not being felt all the way. But they were going to do this. They signed this trade deal, said it was going, said they were good to go, and now it's gone. Right? And, I mean, there's no way you can be doing this with China and still have the trade deal at all. And there hasn't been, like, I haven't seen over the last few days, at least, any news media being like, hey, what about the trade deal, guys? Because what Pompeo is saying is war talk. It really is, like, really bad kind of stuff. And I haven't seen, like, something else from this. Again, this whole thing is very incredibly disjointed from them. But that was one of the big things over the last few days. And then, of course, you have this ongoing thing in Portland with this, you know, calling it a war zone and the way they're trying to really push this stuff. And this thing is one of the most disturbing things to see, right? We've seen over the last months these guys hopping out of unmarked vans in full military gear, grabbing people off the street. We've later learned that all that these people did was being essentially in the wrong place at the wrong time and in a crowd where somebody had done something wrong. Some of the things that they're justifying these essentially secret police arrests off the street with are people using laser pointers or shooting fireworks or throwing rocks. And, you know, as you go on this scale of violence and move up, you can start to characterize things. But, man, I've been seeing some of the stuff where they're like, oh, these explosive devices, and then you see it and it's like a candle. And it's like, I guess a candle could explode. And some of the other things have been really sketchy. But the bigger problem here is that Donald needs a distraction, and that's why he's trying to send this in. He's really trying to build this divide of this law and order notion. But the whole point of the protests is that they're protesting against police brutality. And so when you come in and have your secret police being super brutal, it's not helping. And there's no way that it could be helping. And the degree to which it's clear that it's not helping, right, makes you have to question the intent of what they're trying to do here. Are they trying to bring peace to the country? Or are they trying to impose and create this strife, create this divide because they think it's going to help politically? Because one of the things that they're trying to do is build this notion that Donald is all for, you know, law and order and goodness, and everybody else is this lawless, socialist, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And it's this horridly ridiculous political argument, but it's what they're trying to set up as the dynamic for the election, and it relies on people believing like these moms and these dads with their leaf blowers are violent anarchists and literally terrorists. This is one of the things that's happened over the last little while. There's a group out there, it's kind of loosely organized, whatever, goes by Antifa. It's weirdly pronounced on Fox as Antifa, as if it's some secret Islamic organization. I heard they were Antifa, and they came from way back. And Muhammad himself said Antifa should... No. So the whole thing is, it's a shorthand for anti-fascist. And this builds on the notion, and I could go quite a bit on a bit of a tangent here, but one of my favorite philosophers, at least one of the bigger ones, is Karl Popper, and one of the things that he wrote about, he's known a little bit more about some of his other stuff, but one of the things that I liked about is speaking on, because he was lived through the Nazi era and through this time, and spoke to the notion of tolerance for intolerant views, right? Should you welcome someone at the table who wants to flip over the table and impale two other people on the upside down legs after sharpening them, and should you welcome that person into, you know, civil conversation, or should you punch them in the face? Ultimately, right, it becomes pretty clear that the punching is not really a bad option, and that if you sit down and start to have this discussion about, you know, how sharp the table needs to be because these other people don't deserve to exist anymore, to expand upon this rather dark metaphor, you're all talking about that, right? That table's not a good person table anymore. Right? It's a psychopathic table. So you can't have Nazis at the table and have discussions with people and ideologies that are so odious to the moral fabric that we do enjoy, right? That want to completely change that side of how society functions. And that's what we're looking at. And it's odd too, because some people don't quite see that. And it's interesting, the dynamic, and I've been speaking about this a lot. But just the white supremacist bent of the Republican argument and the Republican just, and Donald, you know, specifically, the book came out, right, speaking about his family and how racist his dad was, and openly around the family, and just how broken of a man Donald is. But anyway, not sure where that one was going, but that's why part of what the dynamic here is trying to set up this notion, and that's what's so absurd and ridiculous about it, right? Because you have this essential mob boss trying to establish law and order in a way that, and it's odd too, because you have this going on in Portland, and you have Oregon's governor being like, you know, hey, we don't want your secret police here. We need, you know, medical equipment. And you have literally, you know, the governor of the city out there, and he gets tear gassed, and the president says they knocked the hell out of him. The president posted on Fox. That was the end of him, right? He's you know, the mayor of the town is there, you can't claim that these are violent anarchists and protests when this is the democratically elected person who represents the people that are there, right? So that's the kind of breakdowns that we're seeing right now. And so I understand why everyone is feeling stressed to the end. It's 100 days. It'll go faster than you think. Trust me on that one. All right, so that's that story. We'll go on for a little while. I'm not gonna stay up all night, but I do want to get through this. So, and then we'll clear those other things. So the president has realized, of course, at this point that he needs to blame somebody. And this is where the China stuff comes in for the virus, right? Because he's realizing this is now that it's hitting the South and hitting it hard. And again, recall, we know that even though a lot of the cases recently have been because the 20-somethings have decided that life is normal, which it's not, and they've been spreading a lot of the virus lately, it's still a lot of the fatalities are older folks, and a lot of older folks in southern states. This is Trump's core political base. And again, people know people, so when it's not one case that hurts him politically. It's 1 times 100 and 1 times, because the people know people, and those who are going to dismiss this and stick with him even though their friends are getting sick or dying is a very small percentage of people. There's some, right? And online, and especially in social media, it's hard to tell because there's a number of fake accounts that are always these exceptions. But it's hurting him, and now he has to deal with it again. And after to deal with it, this fall is not going to be pretty. I don't think. I think it's going to be quite dangerous. There's also, with the whole Pompeo thing, going back to this, his wife apparently is really involved with our national policy. This is something we haven't had to deal with in a while, because if you look back through the last secretaries of state, a lot of them have been single or married to former presidents, so they were a little bit more hands off. And so this hasn't been an issue, but apparently she has, shall we say, a lot of influence over the decisions that Mike makes. And if you see some of the pictures, you realize that she's the one who's greeting foreign dignitaries and probably running a number of conversations, which is odd. So we'll see how that works out. U.S. dollar at sudden risk of collapse. Yeah, this is the big long-term, and I'll speak to this, and I need to cut these up. I'm sorry if I'm jumping around a little bit. There's nobody watching. It's all good. The long-term risk to the U.S. economy, because of our loss of standing and international reputation, is really what's going to lead to what I've called in the past the recession that never ended, if it starts. And that's when we lose our standing as the world's reserve currency, which is what I think China is going to try and push for at some point. We'll see how things look next year when we announce this, $4 or $5 trillion deficit that's going to kick our GDP ratio up over 100%. And by the way, mark my words, the Republicans are going to blame Biden for it if he wins here in this next 100 days. So, moving on a little. There's a lot of warnings. So, the election is looking really good right now for Democrats as of this day, as 100 days out. For those of you, I would say, and I'll say this again, please make sure you're registered to vote. Please don't vote for Republicans. Please vote for Biden for president. Please vote for any Democrats you can for the House and the Senate. Local elections, feel free to do whatever the hell you want to. But as far as our national leadership goes, the escaping dystopia advice is to not vote for Republicans. Now, people who know me long term, especially those on the further left, know that I'm not a particularly far left person. I'm not going to even get into ideologies at the moment. So if in 5 or 10 years or whatever, I'm like saying something different and say voting for something else, it's because there are 4 dimensions to the, at least, right, to the reality that we experience. These 3 dimensions. You're looking at this in 2 dimensions, right? It's flat on the screen. I'm experiencing it right now in 3. And there's also this 4th dimension of time that we're flowing through. All of these factors, right, n-dimensionals, these all factor into decisions and advice. And currently, time, at this time, stop voting for Republicans to make things better. Vote for Democrats. That might change 5-10 years down the road. Who knows? We'll see. Maybe the Democrats will take over and this MMT will take over. I'll be like, guys, no! But for this election, it's pretty clear. If you would like to move to a less dystopian society. So that's what's showing up in the polls. So I mean, so we're getting there. Just don't give this false confidence. The cure for COVID-19 is trust. Oh my God. So there's this. I read this article. I guess when was this? Yesterday. It came out from Ben Sherwood. He's the former president of NBC, Disney, ABC Television Group, and ABC News. He goes into this how, you know, gosh, a lot of people are disapproving of Trump. People are just, you know, people just don't seem to trust experts and blah, blah, blah. And then he goes through and he won't ever... Much of the distrust in President Trump has been self-inflicted. He's delayed, decided, and dissembled. He won't say lie. And it's one of those things where it's like, no, the problem here is that he's a liar and a con man. Did you call him a con man, a fake, a failure? No. Huh. And then it goes into this whole same sides thing and both sides. And it's not both sides. And one of the things that you'll see people try and do as a counterpoint to my point I was just making about what we need to be doing is voting for Democrats to move out of this, is that, well, both sides are not perfect. So, I mean, if both sides aren't perfect, I can't tell, you know, the difference between one that's not perfect and this other one that's not perfect. And golly gee, I guess I'll just flip a coin. You know, and that's one of the things, one of the problems with those kind of absolute scales, right? You have perfect and not perfect. Because nobody's going to be perfect on any scale. That's kind of the whole, perfect is a limit, right? You can't get there. That's the line on the edge, right? If you are there, you're outside of the graph. So nobody's going to be perfect. So this both sides thing is the way a lot of people try and justify making some really, really bad decisions. House GOP, yeah, the House, the Republicans, they're really they're worried a little bit. I'm not gonna, dunk on that because again, we got 100 days to go. Sinclair delays doing their conspiracy theorists. They're gonna air this show on Sunday. Sinclair, if you're not aware, is this broadcasting group apparently owned by the Russians. Again, when you deregulate who can own media systems here in the United States, and then all of a sudden you have a shadowy corporation that you're not really sure who owns all these television stations, but they're doing weird stuff like employing former RT people and other guys that are just weird propagandists, and then they want to put on a special where they accuse the person who's the head of the infectious disease, Dr. Fauci, of literally creating this virus, which has already spread so much that his family's under police protection. The U.S. is in a weird place. I'm just saying. This isn't what you call normal. It's good times. All right, so moving up a little bit. Oh my gosh. So apparently, I mean, you have the Democrats being like, hey, guys, can we talk about this election interference that's going on, that we're getting intelligence briefings on, and who's doing it? And some of the, I mean, you already have now some real loyalists in the number of these positions in acting capacities often, which is, this is one of the things that we're going to have to clean up later. Because this is like, what's going on right now, like in Portland with all the DHS. Oh man, the Department of Homeland Security, by the way, when this was created and the Patriot Act was passed, since that point, I've held consistently that the United States has been a police state. And it's been a police state that's just been generally kind of benign because we've had the external threat, right? So you can always have these you have these laws that are written with the idea that, yeah, they're always going to be focused outward. But now you have, again, this incompetent moron beholden to who knows whom in control of these same organizations, and now the acting person in charge of the DHS, who has not been subject to sub-Senate review because he's acting, so he just got installed, is now decided to direct these DHS authorities, pull in people from all these different agencies, and appoint them at Americans. And that's been the whole idea was, again, you were supposed to protect Americans from external threats, and now you've turned all of these resources internally, right? And it's not, instead of the drop shuttle being out, now it's pointed in. This is not what this was created for by the Department of Homeland Security. This was the thing that a lot of critics at the time were saying, you know, first off, this war on terror thing is kind of sketchy. What? It seems like you guys have other goals. And, what are you, how much authority does this, and we have now a department of what? So anyway, we've reached that point where the Department of Homeland Security has become these secret police, like dressed as the military. We had, after the war, right, in Iraq, you had all this billions of dollars of hardware and stuff out there, and they gave it to the police to enforce this police state. So, let's see, is this the... This doesn't seem right. Doesn't sound like it sounds right, but whatever. Gonna be doing a lot of these shows. We'll figure it out. Alright, so moving on. Yeah, so the Russians are trying pretty hard to push things. And one of the things that's difficult, and this was what's always been annoying, even Mueller wouldn't really specifically say, you know, who it was that they were trying to get elected or why. Yep, covering up ongoing stuff. Very true. Kids going back to school. Oh, man. We'll talk about more about this over the next few days and weeks. This is a very personal decision here for our family. Full disclosure on that, my wife currently is pregnant, and there is that's a very high risk category for the COVID. So we are planning on doing mostly remote learning for some time. Our school district here has decided to do full remote learning for the first 2 weeks, and then people have the option. I know they've been pretty good. Colorado, especially this area, is pretty divided politically, which apparently is how people are making this decision. My gut feeling on this, and what I think is going to happen, is in Texas and Florida and the places where the politicians are pushing people to go back to school, you're going to see some eye-popping, ridiculous numbers in a couple weeks, within a couple weeks of them trying to do this, and that's going to put a big stopper on everybody doing it, which is going to happen. So that's kind of going September into October, and then we're hitting the election. So I'll talk about that, and I'll see if I remember that I mentioned this at that point. But scary stuff. Let's see, what is Pompeo up to? Who knows? Oh yeah, Maxwell, Ghislaine Maxwell. The president wished a woman the other day. We have her in custody. She was the associate of Jeffrey Epstein, who killed himself in his prison cell. The cameras were broken. The guards, I think, has since been charged for dereliction of duty. Bill Barr personally looked into it. He never told us what he found, which is curious. Anyway, so Epstein killed himself. They've got Maxwell, I guess, on suicide watch, and are moving around because assassins and who knows what, man. This is another just surreal situation. So to bring you up to 2020, if you're not aware of how history was, so you woke up from the coma. Welcome to 2020. You woke up from the coma. Welcome to 2020. There's this weird conspiracy theory that people believe about this super secret sex ring that was run from a non-existent basement of a pizza parlor, but apparently it's tied up into all sorts of powerful people all over the world. Reaches to the highest levels. That's the conspiracy. It gets crazy. I'm not even worried about, like, there's weird aliens and weird stuff. And basically, the idea is that, you know, thousands of these pedophiles and child molesters and stuff are about to be rounded up by the FBI because this is a huge thing and it's about to get blown wide open. So this is based on, I think, this is all internet troll stuff. It just got way, way out of control. And that's my theory on that, on where the Q stuff came from. But the nugget of truth from it is actually this thing with Maxwell and Epstein, where they had, and she used to allegedly, I guess I'd throw allegedly out there, recruit young women at Mar-a-Lago, right? Like, they were tied together for a lot through the 90s and early aughts. It's it's all horrible. So he wished her well. She's been in custody now. They're trying to charge her after Epstein gone. They finally went and got her and found her. Her whole life is very odd. The whole thing is very, very sketchy. He wished her well. Which is better than he said for a lot of folks, including the recently deceased John Lewis. To catch you up on some major other folks who have passed. He's currently, I believe, lying in state in the Capitol for the next couple days. Where are we going now? Oh yeah, let's talk about UFOs for a minute. There's a good, interesting thing on this, and I'm going to try and help break the dam on this too. Because there was a guy, I don't know if this is the one. No longer in the shadows, Pentagon's UFO unit will make some findings public. For over a decade, a program now tucked inside the Office of Naval Intelligence has discussed mysterious events in classified briefings. So when they talk about mysterious events, they have footage of these objects moving through the sky in ways and at speeds that really kind of defy what we think of as known possible physics, really. Just very strange. I'm really looking forward. I think this is happening next month or so. But this was basically, they're flying and they see weird stuff flying, and we have some super cool tech now, like the radars and cameras, and they're able to like lock onto it, like and get some specs on how these objects were moving, and they're moving in very weird ways. So there's still the possibility that this is some human technology. This is so weird to talk about because of the implications of this are like just it's a whole. That's a whole show, and hopefully we'll talk about this more. I'm just, again, catching up on how long has it been going on. I think, let me see, hold on. So I'm not going to talk all night. Oh, it doesn't say. It will. All right, well, anyway. So the implications of this, of course, are tremendous, and we'll talk about that here in a second, but yeah. So they're going to put this footage out and the information they do have. And we'll see how it goes. So they started studying these because the idea was like, well, this is other countries' technology. We need to figure it out. And then we get the spies involved, and then we'll figure it out. They've been doing this long enough, and I think the spies have been involved long enough that they know that it's not other countries. That there's not another country on Earth that has this technology. So there's this guy talking about it, and he had some really, really interesting kind of ideas about this. Because, A, we know how big the universe is. So we know, and generally, unless our conception of physics is totally wrong, it just takes a long time to get places. So if there's somebody here observing or hanging out or just living, they've probably been here for a long time. Like, for all of human existence, without a question, if not longer. And one of the things, too, from watching the videos, there's the question on if these are crafts or if these are, you know, actual, like, the entities themselves, right? And have some ability to move that we're just not aware of. So I'm really interested in looking at this. One of the things is really, I mean, again, hard evidence of something like this, right? That even if it's, we don't have a full explanation, but we have something that's so real and hard as evidence that we can't deny that it's real. I mean, it blows away all those religions. And that's one of the things that was fun about Contact, right? The movie, and if you haven't seen the movie or read the book, check it out. But one of the people who were the most mad about contact with other intelligences beyond our planet was that it invalidated a lot of their religions. So one of the things that the guy did mention, and this is what's really, I think, a great idea, because we have all of our, even SETI, like our search for extraterrestrial intelligence, that's the big antennas that we have pointed up into the sky looking way far away for things, when, you know, maybe we're just wrong in that assumption, and that if we are, like, much like, you know, how we can find these really incredibly cool living entities deep below the ocean, maybe we should just look around us really close for, you know, people observing, or things, or probes, or something that we can't quite figure out, right? Because instead we're looking all the way up there when maybe we should be just kind of looking around a little bit more. So, and then, you know, you put in that kind of system, and now we're, you know, this, you know, all the time over the sky monitoring, which of course has its own dystopian implications. But maybe we'll get some more shots, and that's the thing too. Some more good footage of these crafts or whatever this is. One of the things too, and I don't know if we have or what's going to happen when this stuff comes out, but if we, you know, what could Donald, like, you know, ask the rest of the world, like, hey guys, have you guys seen anything? You know, do you have any footage of this? You know, I'm really interested to see what they're gonna put out. I want to see the highest resolution stuff that we got, right? To see what's out there, man. So that stuff's super exciting. 2020, man. I mean, oh look, there's a spacecraft, or maybe it's a spacecraft, super drone. I don't know. U.S. confirms fighter jet flew close to, our fighter jet in Iran, we had an F-15 buzz one of their passenger planes, caused some injuries. They apparently can sue the U.S. now. I'm sure that will go great with our thing. WHO slams unacceptable remarks from Mike Pompeo. Again, this is from a couple days ago. So Pompeo came out and he's like, oh yeah, you know, this China sucks, and also they own the WHO, and the stupid China virus. And then they're like, comments are untrue and unacceptable and without any foundation for that matter. The WHO will not be distracted by these comments. We don't want the international community to also be distracted. I mean, we're starting a fight with the WHO. Like, what is this? Whoa! What? WHO? What is this? It doesn't make sense. It's not the first time that Pompeo has said China has co-opted the WHO. I mean, it's just like this rhetoric. And you gotta remember, Pompeo is this Tea Party douche nozzle. Kansas, I guess? I don't know. There was hope that he would go back, but apparently the polling was so bad he couldn't even quit. So, yeah, we're still in a fight with the WHO for some damn reason. I'm cognitively their person. woman, man, camera, TV, person, woman, man, camera, TV. You know, the thing that's so odd about this whole woman, person, man, camera, TV thing, and I gotta say, it's odd, it's real odd, is he made up his own list of easy to remember terms that flowed logically from one another of things he was probably looking at. And that's different than what the actual list for that cognitive test is. And that cognitive test is a basic dimension. It's, you know, it's one of those, as somebody mentioned, like, if you fail that test, they take away your keys. Right? I mean, it's not like this isn't a, oh, well, you passed the cognitive test, you could be president now. No, it's you failed the test. We need to talk to you about putting you someplace and having somebody watch you. This was something that I thought was really interesting about, I think this is in Mary's book, and I haven't read it yet. I need to read lots of stuff, but apparently, like, that's kind of the idea, right? He's very, very psychologically disturbed. I mean, he can't really function in society, but he's been essentially institutionalized for years, right? He's got people taking care of everything for him, so he doesn't have to, he doesn't think about it, he doesn't have to deal with it. Somebody deals with everything for him. And so his just non-ability to function as a normal human in society has never been a problem for him. I mean, this speaks wildly to one of my huge things, the whole income inequity situation that we have here, and how, you know, money just insulates. It doesn't solve problems, but it insulates a lot of like issues, and especially personality traits that probably should be problems. I'm cognitively there. Woman. Man. Camera. TV. It's just all stuff he was looking. It's like I love lamp. That's like where, I mean, it's just like I love lamp. Alright. Boom. So let's see. Where are we at here? I've got, like, I'm still working through all my tabs, because I just read way too much stuff. But I'm going to try and, like I said, the 100 shows, 100 days. We're going to be late at night, because that's the only time I can do shit. So, last month, I wrote this web app. Actually, I guess last quarter. And instead of doing the update, because I've got some really cool stuff I want to add to that, but this is the time. I'm gonna just talk for the next 100 days, man. I don't know who's watching here. Is that you, Garrett? All right, whatever. It's all cool. We're friends, but man, this sucks. I don't want to have to do this. But at the same time, you know, I think if you can do something here and it's going to help, you got to at least cover it, right? And I mean, I've always done, like, for those who don't know, every election for the last, whatever, it's actually had a curious impact on my career in roles or jobs where we're like, hey, you know, Roy, what are you reading about? Nobody ever asks, because I've always had jobs where I do computer stuff all the time. But come election time, I've become fairly engaged in what's going on in the world. It's, you know, it is what it is. So we're gonna do a lot of videos. All right. So where are we at here? Teachers cognitively there. Justice Department watchdog to investigate federal use of force in Portland, Washington. So the watchdogs are going to do it. This was a guy who's also looking into the origins of the Russiagate Russia investigation, where, you know, Russia helped Donald get elected. Russia convicts historian Yumi Dmitriev, who uncovered Stalin's mass graves, Yeah, they're doing some more cover up there. They're just it's interesting. There was some really big protests against Putin in eastern Russia. Uh, the pandemic again, if it runs hard enough there, it could cost him power. He also changed the constitution there so he can be in power well into his 80s, which I don't think is a good idea for anybody, but whatever. Bill Barr claimed they arrested 200. Excuse me, I'm sorry. I probably shouldn't move closer to the mic. Bill Barr claimed that they arrested 200 people in Kansas City, and they had actually arrested one person, and the 200 number was like for the whole year. I mean, this was to inflate, to create this notion that there's these huge mobs of anarchists and blah 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 running around, and it's not true. What in the hell are we doing? Republicans lost on economic aid. Yeah, I do wonder what you're doing. I don't know that you guys have any idea what you're going to do. Philly DA threatens to arrest federal agents. This is where we're at in 2020, right? Because you have a lot of these folks, and you know, there's some politics here and there, but a lot of people are just being like, and you read like some of these comments, especially from these DAs, they're like, this is just not how the law works. You can't do this. You can't show up and just grab somebody with the authority of the federal government. No. And we're also at the point now where Mitch McConnell and the Republicans in the Senate, after stonewalling Obama for 8 years, opened up massive holes on the federal bench, which they have filled. And they have smashed through judges everywhere. And many of them have been just ridiculously unqualified. And I know at one point some of this fascist BS from these cops is gonna go straight to one of these judges. 2020. Operation Diligent Valor. That's what they're calling pushing this thing. Portland dads with leaf blowers join wall of moms to push back tear gas from police. The tear gas that they shot at the moms, the dads are using the leaf blowers to blow back. This is one of the tactics that folks learned from Hong Kong and the expert level protesting. Asian level. Sorry, a little bit of that protesting, which is usually pretty epic. We'll see how it goes in the next little bit. But the protesters are learning more tactics. You have more people out there. Apparently there was a wall of vets out there tonight in Portland and last night. And this weekend's going to get interesting. A federal judge refused to block a law passed by the city itself to prohibit the use of tear gas and other crowd control methods. So probably going to get interesting. People are probably going to get shot soon. This is going up for a while. 100 days. All right. You know what? Wall of moms. Oh yeah, that's. All right, we got a lot more to discuss, but been talking for a while. Chased away a couple folks. How long has it been? Maybe we should just set time limits every night. I'll just get through what I can. Then I'll go clean up the rest of it. And we'll talk about what's more important. Or I could, spend some actual time doing this instead of doing it right. It's a live show. We'll see if folks start to watch. Alright. So, what else is important to know? I don't want to scan through everything. So, Wall of Moms, Epstein, Kasich to speak at Democratic convention on behalf of Joe Biden. I had a bit of a blow up about this conversation with somebody about the other day, and we'll finish on this issue, and then we'll clean up the phone for tomorrow. Whenever we want to do that. Oh yeah, this other one I want to talk about too. Man, I should just. How can I? Ooh, that's what I could do. That's cool. All right. So we can actually make this a little bit more interactive than it has been, because now I can just share these right away. And man, I'm dumb. Sorry. A little hard on myself, but I should be, because you'll start to see, right, and things, and if I do the show and then I just put the comment in there, right, and then you can link while you're reading. If you're watching the show, you can go to the thing that I'm talking about, and it'll be live and interactive. And this is exactly, man, I'm slow, man. It takes me a little while to figure out stuff that's right in front of my face. Anyway, so speaking about this story now, Kasich to speak at Democratic convention on behalf of Biden. All the moderates, centrists absolutely love this stuff. That's fine. Kasich, one of his last acts is someone with actual real political power, worked to defund Planned Parenthood as an example. I don't think at this point this is where, I mean, this has been something. I had this conversation, and somebody's like, "Well, Roy, this is unprecedented." I was like, "This is not particularly unprecedented. Sorry." A little bit of a feisty conversation. I wasn't. I can be blunt with folks, real blunt, and some folks take that, I would say, the wrong way. It's all about saving time. Busy man. That's a total cop out. But anyway. Having opposing politicians speak at your convention is actually a time-honored tradition. Pretty much every year, every election cycle, somebody finds somebody to do it. Kasich is a bigger name. I think people who watch a lot of cable news. I don't watch cable news at all. We don't have cable here in the house. I mean, I see clips online, but I don't ever like, ooh, let's watch on cable channel. So maybe Kasich apparently does a lot of that, and people who watch a lot of cable think that he's important for that reason. I don't know. I think there's got to be somebody else out there, and why I think that, right? Because it was at that convention speech that, you know, Obama made some of his hay, and I know there's been some others. I can't think of them offhand, but you know, it's a party building thing. And having somebody who's at best a fair weather fan, and at worst somebody happily see your whole party go to dust speaking, is not, I don't think, the best idea. But I know there's going to be a lot of traditional politics this year, as Biden is a traditional politician. Oh man, I love this whole sharing the story that I'm going to talk about thing, because that just really helps, because actually the way that the comments work on these, when people watch it later, comments happen at that time, and I think even because it's delayed, I'll have the comments pop up before I actually do it, so I can be like, oh, now we're going to talk about, man, this is way better. Alright, sorry. This was annoying me before. I've got this sweet ass computer, this sweet ass phone, this sweet ass cord. I have fun with myself sometimes. Alright, so sweet ass. I got a sweet ass defense secretary. Sweet ass defense secretary moves to share his yes man reputation. Mark Esper is his name. Oh, sorry. Mark Esper. He's just known as Esper because he's a yes man, is what they're called. He was a lobbyist, and he got picked because Donald didn't have anybody freaking else. Really, that's what happened. The guy had another sex scandal. So many of these guys have had sex scandals. I mean, so many of them. It's not a coincidence at a certain. It really just. Anyway, he's trying to say he's not a yes man. He is a yes man. He's turned. Remember, he was the one who was, before they gassed those peaceful protesters so he could do that photo op in the church. He was the one who was like, we're going to turn the what was it, the American battle space. And so this whole turning America's streets into a battlefield is a strategy. That's why, one of the reasons why I'm not so much so like advocating get out there and kick their asses, because I don't think that's what we need right now, because that's not what's going to win the election. And I think the election can still save us. And that's a big point to make, and I'm going to do that, I think, before I head out of here, is that the election can still save us. That's one of the reasons why I'm doing this show like this, because the election can still save us. And I hope I'm not saying that to try and convince myself, but I think it's actually true. The convention can, the election can still save the country. And with that, so I can't close these here, but that's okay. I like this. I like this a lot. Cases, yeah, because I can't close these, so I'll have to close them there, but I'll be like, oh, I covered that. Oh no! Man, I closed that thing a lot. Alright. I'm getting there, learning it. Oh yeah, we're learning this. Okay. So, with that, I will say adieu, whoever is out there. Thank you for watching the show. I'm going to do lots of shows. I'd like to, I could definitely do something like this every day. Well, we'll see how it works out. Because I follow this stuff a lot, and I've been talking about it and practicing it, so. We'll see. If people don't like it, I'm still going to do it. And then we'll reassess after the election. But that's tonight's show, guys. And then we'll be back. I'm doing this like, they do those... Anyway, there's a lot of people streaming stuff on the internet. I'll be back tomorrow night. You guys have a great day. Sleep well. Peace out. Be good. We'll be alright. I think that's a fine show. I'm fine with it. What? Just kidding.